Hey guys, so it's been a really intense and emotional week. I think we've all seen a lot of really heart-wrenching, awful things in the news and on our social media feeds, but I think we've also seen a lot of support, maybe more support than some people even anticipated, and a lot of evidence that important conversations are starting to happen. Now, I've been doing a lot of reflecting recently about myself and the ways that I could be better when it comes to fighting against racial inequality. I know my YouTube subscription feed and my Instagram feeds are nowhere near as diverse as I would like them to be. And I recognize that even though in my mind it's never been about intentionally excluding anyone, that is not good enough. You need to go out of your way to intentionally include people. It's up to me to seek out those creators and support them. So that is something that I definitely want to be better about doing and have been trying to actively do in the last week. It's going to take a lot more work than just a week's worth, but I am trying to make a start. I also came to appreciate that I need to leverage the power of my dollar as a person with a beauty channel that buys a lot of makeup. If I believe in inclusivity and diversity, then I need to do a better job of using my money to support Black-owned brands and minority-owned brands. Which brings me to today's video. I'm going to be sharing a wish list I put together of products from Black-owned brands. Now, this is by no means going to be a comprehensive list of Black-owned makeup brands. Today I'm just going to share some products from a few different brands that I'm personally really interested in, some brands that I've just recently discovered are Black-owned. But I will definitely link for you guys some posts and some other videos that also have lists of amazing Black-owned brands to check out if you want to do some more research for yourself. So all the brands that I'm going to talk about today are brands that I've either never tried anything from before or have maybe only tried like one product. I'm not going to talk about Fenty or Juvia's Place just because I feel like I've talked about them quite a bit before on my channel, and I think both of those brands are awesome, but I wanted to shine the spotlight on a few lesser known brands that really piqued my interest. So with that being said, let me tell you guys what's on my wish list. So the first brand I want to talk about is Uoma Beauty. Now, Uoma is like a newer-ish brand, I would say. I think they launched probably just over a year ago now, if I'm remembering correctly, and they are available at Ulta. They exist on the high-end side of the store, so I would say their price point's pretty similar to, you know, your Too Faced, Tarte, Urban Decay, etc. And they've got a really cool vibe about them. Like, all their packaging is colorful. It's got sort of this little bit of like urban edginess to it, and I feel like all the reviews I've seen of their products so far have generally been pretty positive. So I've been curious about this brand honestly since it launched, and I really don't know why it's taken me this long to try something from them. Now, I definitely have been curious about a number of different products from Uoma. Their foundation seems really cool. I've heard really good things about their Stay Woke concealer as well. But I think the thing that really called to me most was their Black Magic eyeshadow palette. I remember seeing the pictures of it when it first initially launched and really being drawn into the color story and the glittery textures. And then I remember seeing Samantha Ravndal use it in a video, and I thought it was really beautiful. But for whatever reason, I just like talked myself out of buying it. And it's always been in the back of my mind. So this past week, I said to myself, like, why are you holding off on buying this? Like, yes, you've got a lot of eyeshadow, but if you can justify buying 3 Nabla palettes, why can't you justify getting one from Uoma Beauty? So I went and I placed an order online for curbside pickup, and I went to the store and I picked it up. So this is a 10-pan eyeshadow palette. You have a row here of shimmering shades. You've got 4 kind of almost like glitter type shades, and then this shade right here is more of a frosty foil, and then you have a row of 5 matte shades. And I just thought this color story was so unique and grungy and just like really cool and inspired. I feel like you can make some really unique looks with this, and honestly, I really don't feel like I have a palette that's exactly like this anywhere else in my collection. Now, since I just got this, I have only had a chance to use it once. It's actually what I used to make the eye look that I'm wearing right now. I have this shade Allure all over my lid. This is probably, at least for right now, my favorite shade in this entire palette. It's got a duochrome shift to it, so it kind of goes from like a lime green to like a pink to like a burnished gold. It's so pretty, and it's so intensely sparkly. These 4 shades here all have the same texture. They're not a pressed glitter where you have like that thick chunky glitter that's not safe to put on your eyes. It's like this super fine micro shimmer that's in a little bit of a base, and it's just so pretty on the eyes. So I've got this shade here, and then a little bit of the shade Mystical next to it, kind of towards the outer corner of my eye. I also used the shades Lush and Oh Sun in my crease, and then I have the shade Lady of Gold in my inner corner, and I really like the way that this look turned out today. I'll also put it out there that I did this makeup like I don't know, at least like 6 hours ago. It's been a long day, and I feel like it's still going strong. So definitely impressed with my first go run with this palette, and I'm excited to make some more looks with it. I also did a swatch video over on Instagram, so if you want to see a swatch of this entire palette, I will put the link to that IGTV video in the description box. But just so you guys can see and understand the texture of these shimmery shades, here is the shade Allure, that kind of duochrome. I don't know if the camera will really pick up the change in reflect, but like, look at how beautiful that is. I am just so in love with this, and I definitely am feeling like it was a good investment. They do also have some other eyeshadow palettes that are really beautiful. Their most recent launch was their Carnival palette, and that one is a little bit more like bright and summery as far as the color story goes. It's really pretty. I still felt like I liked the Black Magic more, and I probably would get more use out of it, so that's why I decided to go with that one. But I definitely would recommend going to their website and checking out what they, offer if you haven't ever before, because they've got some really cool stuff. So the next brand that I want to talk about is Pat McGrath Labs. Yes, Pat McGrath is a more popular and well-known makeup brand. However, I feel like it's important to talk about Pat McGrath Labs because it is a luxury Black-owned brand, and that is something that should not be forgotten. The luxury beauty space is probably the most guilty of lacking inclusivity. So to have a luxury beauty brand that caters to people of color is pretty awesome, and something that's pretty much been unheard of before Pat McGrath. Also, Pat McGrath as a makeup artist is an icon, and I feel like a lot of people still don't know that much about her. It's funny, I was watching Emily Noel this morning because she did a video where she did a full face of makeup using all products from Black-owned brands, and it was really cool. And I was scrolling through the comments on that video, and a lot of people said that they didn't know Pat McGrath was Black, which was shocking to me. And maybe that's just because I'm on Instagram and YouTube all of the time, so like I've seen Pat McGrath, I know what she looks like, I've been on her Instagram page, but I recognize that that may not be everyone, and people that only ever see the products from her brand and hear her name may just automatically assume, because she's making expensive, luxurious makeup and that her last name is McGrath, that she's white. So I just found that to be really fascinating. And if you are someone that doesn't know anything about Pat McGrath, I will link her bio from her website in the description box so you can read it. She's pretty incredible. Now, you guys know, if you've been watching my videos for a while, then I have been lusting after Pat McGrath eyeshadows basically since the brand came into existence. They are exquisite. I have held in my hands a Pat McGrath eyeshadow palette, and not like just in a Sephora. I have a friend who has one of the Mothership palettes, and she, brought it over to my house and asked me to do her makeup with it because she was still kind of learning how to use the palette, and it performed like a freaking dream. It was so beautiful. So I know that it's something that I've always personally wanted, but I'm gonna be real with you guys. I am pretty cheap, and honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that my parents were super, super frugal growing up. So even though I am almost 33 years old, every time I go to buy something even remotely expensive, I still hear my mother's voice in my ear being like, "Oh my God, that's absolutely ridiculous. How would you spend that much money?" And it's a challenge. Needless to say, shelling out over $100 for an eyeshadow palette is a thing that I personally have struggled with. However, I also feel like I know how much money I spend on makeup in a year, and to be perfectly honest, if I spend $100 in one sitting versus if I spend $100 in two purchases, still $100. And I know I set some intentions at the beginning of 2020 for how I wanted to spend my money this year on beauty, and I wanted the focus to be on quality over quantity, and I wanted to give myself permission to buy luxury products and maybe add fewer things to my collection, but add things that I would really like and would give me joy versus spending the same amount of money on a bunch of other things that I would ultimately just end up decluttering. All of this rambling is for me to say that I finally did it and went ahead and ordered my first Pat McGrath eyeshadow palette. Now, for the longest time, I had my eyes on the Bronze Temptation palette, and I do still think that one is absolutely beautiful, but I ultimately decided to go with the original Divine Rose palette, which kind of even surprised me, but when I really got to thinking about it, knowing my current and existing makeup preferences and my lifestyle, investing that kind of money into a neutral palette that I could wear every single day felt like it made more sense to me than investing in one of the other palettes that had a cool color story but that I might not wear as often. I did also manage to order it in the limited edition pink packaging. No, I didn't buy it just for the pink packaging, but knowing that that was also an option definitely helped me to solidify my choice to make the purchase now as opposed to putting it off for later in the year. So I am very, very excited about that. It's my birthday in a couple of weeks, and I figured this will be my present to myself. Now, while we're on the topic of eyeshadow, let's talk about JD Glow Cosmetics. I am kind of embarrassed to say that I didn't know before today that JD Glow Cosmetics was a Black-owned brand. So I'm happy that with all of the information that has been spread around lately, that this was brought to my attention. Now, if you haven't heard of JD Glow Cosmetics, they are an indie makeup brand, and they're sort of most well known for their multi-chrome and super sparkly eyeshadows. If you have not gone on their Instagram feed, I highly suggest just going on and taking some time to scroll through and look at all of the swatches and all of the beautiful pictures, because it is truly mesmerizing. Now, I clearly have a thing for eyeshadow, if you haven't noticed. So JD Glow has definitely been on my radar for a while. I think part of the reason I haven't made an order yet is that a lot of their products seem to sell out quickly, and there have been times where I've gone on their website in the past and shades I've wanted to purchase weren't available, and then I just kind of have forgotten in a timely manner to go back and check to see if they've restocked. So moving forward, I would like to try to be a little bit better about intentionally placing an order. I spent a little time today going through their site and starting to pick out the shades that I'm most interested in. And it's hard to narrow it down, to be perfectly honest, because there are a lot that are super beautiful. I think the two shades that stood out to me right away were Unexpected, which seemed kind of it was almost a silvery champagne, but it also had shifts of other colors in it. It was a really cool multi-dimensional sparkly shade. And then Good God, which is kind of this almost frosty shimmer that kind of has a reflex of blue and green and pink. Again, a really unique, really pretty shade that looked like it would be nice as like an inner corner highlight or like all over the lid. There also was this multi-chrome type shade that was called Seaweed that shifts between, I think, like lime green to like a mid-tone green into teal and blue. It was super pretty. That one is a little expensive, and I honestly don't know how often I would wear it, so I'm a little more like, on the fence about that one. But I definitely feel like I need to try something from this brand at some point within the year because I love sparkly things on my eyes, and that is 100% what they deliver. The next brand that's on my wish list I've heard of before, but kind of only in passing. So I've really only explored their products within the last couple of days, and that is the lip bar. I had no idea they were carried at Target. I think that's really awesome. Honestly, I haven't been in a Target in quite a while, and I haven't been in the Target beauty department in even longer. So as the name would suggest, the lip bar got started out with lip products, but they have expanded into other color cosmetics. So they have things for your face and eyes as well. And the first thing that I noticed about this brand is the aesthetic. I think it is so cool. Their packaging is so pretty. Everything has this like cool filigree design on like the caps or on the covers. I haven't seen any other brand do anything quite like that with their packaging, so I think it's really unique. And knowing that it's kind of more in that like mid-tiered price range where it's not like drugstore, but it's not on the same level as your typical Sephora brand. So it's more akin to the pricing of, say, like Pixie. I feel like a lot of brands in that mid-range price point don't always go the extra mile with their packaging and their aesthetic, so I thought it was really cool that the lip bar did that. Now, you guys know I am a sucker for lip products. I have way too many, and yet I can't stop buying them. So naturally, I can't not add at least a few of the lip products from the lip bar onto my wish list. The first thing that stood out to me is the lip gloss in the shade Miss Independent. This is like that really, really pretty kind of peachy nude tone. It looks like it's more of like an opaque gloss formula that you wouldn't necessarily have to layer over a lip liner, like you could, but it could still hold up on its own. It looks like such a pretty shade, 100% up my alley. And the description sounds pretty bomb. It says it's their cleanest lip product. It is super pigmented, 80% organic, and it's silky and not sticky. Apparently, people agree because it has almost 5 stars on the Lip Bar website, so that is definitely 100% going on the wish list. I am also living for their bullet lipstick in the shade Whiskey Sour. I love a good reddish, orangey, rusty lip color, and this is all of those vibes. It's not like neon orange in your face. It's like that perfectly muted but not too muted kind of rusty orangey terracotta. Looks like it would be so fire for summer and for like those early fall months. So yeah, that is also something I 100% would like to own someday. They also have some really beautiful face palettes. So these are 4-pan palettes that look like they have a blush, a like bronzer or contouring shade, a highlight shade, and then like a setting powder. Again, they have the really cool kind of filigree detailing on the lid, so you can see the shades through the packaging, but it's not an entirely clear lid, if that makes sense. And there are 7 different versions of this palette available, each catering to a different skin tone, which I think is amazing. I think we all have seen how face palettes can really be guilty of lacking inclusivity, especially when a brand only launches one version of a face palette and tries to call it universal. So I think that it's awesome that the Lip Bar, rather than making you waste your money paying for extra shades you're never going to use, can give you a palette that is specifically designed to flatter your skin tone. So for me, looking at these 7 different shade varieties, I probably would go for the one called Stay Ready. This one has a really pretty kind of like dusty rose blush, a nice kind of neutral, slightly warm leaning bronzer, a more yellowy toned like setting powder, probably for your under eyes, and then a champagne highlight. And I have not seen anybody review or talk about this product, so I don't really know that much about it. So if you've seen any reviews, I definitely would be really curious to check them out. So definitely let me know like what channel you saw it on, or leave me a link. Now, the next brand on my wish list is Colored Rain. And Colored Rain for me like really takes me back to like the golden days of YouTube, because I feel like they were a brand that was really talked about for a minute there, and I don't know why they've kind of fallen off a little bit. Like, I definitely know people are still using their products, but I feel like they aren't talked about as much by some of like the big, more like mainstream YouTubers, which I think is unfortunate. I think the product of theirs that is like the most iconic, that has probably been on my wish list the longest, is the Queen of Hearts palette. I remember when that palette launched, it was just everything. I 100% was lusting after that palette. And again, the only reason I didn't buy it was because at the time I had a lot of warm-toned neutral palettes, and I was trying to practice some level of fiscal responsibility and not let myself buy it. But I often thought to myself, I would honestly probably have rather had that palette instead of the other palettes that I had. And if I could like trade them, I probably would. And honestly, to this day, I've heard like nothing but good things about that palette, and I know a lot of people still use it and still love it, and I think the color story is still relevant and still on trend and would still be a good purchase now. That being said, looking at the Colored Rain website at the things they have available, the palette that's currently speaking to me most is actually the new Safari Rain palette. It's unfortunately sold out, and it's limited edition, but it looks like they are going to be doing a restock, I think this week. And again, these are sort of more like earthy, muted jewel tones. They have a little bit more of a grungy vibe. I don't know why I'm feeling really into that right now, but it's definitely what's speaking to me. So I think this palette looks absolutely beautiful. You have a really nice mix of colors, both warm and some cool tones, and I think you can make some really beautiful looks with it. You've got a nice balance of mattes and shimmers in there as well. So like, this one hits all the marks for me. I also like that it's a 9-pan palette, just because I feel like 9 shades is like a good sweet spot. I've come to appreciate that I generally tend to prefer palettes with 12 or fewer shades. And recently I've been like gravitating towards even smaller palettes, like 5-pan or 6-pan ones. I don't know, just something about the simplicity of it seems really appealing. So this is one that may be joining my collection in the near future, especially knowing that if I don't jump on the next restock, it might be gone forever. It's a $29 palette, which I feel like is pretty on par with what we're seeing with a lot of other 9-pan palettes. So if the formula is as amazing as everybody says that it is, I think it would be totally worth it. So the next brand on my wish list is Mented Cosmetics, and this is a new brand to me. I think I've just recently started to see some ads and some promos for this brand, but I don't think I've seen any reviews or anybody on YouTube talking about it. So Mented is actually short for pigmented, and the women who started the company wanted to make makeup that was just that, pigmented makeup that would show up on people with deeper skin tones. They launched, I believe, with a collection of nude lipsticks, basically making a diverse range of nudes, so there would be a nude for everyone, which I thought was very interesting because they founded the company in 2017. So much like the lip bar, Mented expanded beyond their original line of lip products into face and eyes. They also have nail polishes, which is really cool. They have a whole range of nudes for different skin tones. But I, of course, being me, was again drawn to the lip products. And I actually felt that these were really quite reasonably priced. So their semi-matte lipsticks are $16.50, which isn't cheap, but it definitely is more affordable than some high-end brands you would see at Sephora. So I thought that was really cool. I actually did go ahead and order one of them, as well as the coordinating lip liner, because I just was so into this shade, and I have been looking for something in this tone for such a long time that like I couldn't not buy it. So the shade that I purchased is the semi-matte lipstick in Peach Please, which is described as a subtle peach with coral undertones. I don't know why it's so hard to find like a true peach lipstick, but it is. Like, I have peachy nudes where it's more nude than peach, but like a true like peach tone lipstick, surprisingly difficult. So I saw this and immediately was like, that's gorgeous, I want it. I put it in my shopping cart, the end. So I'm very excited to get that in the mail and show it to you guys and let you know what I think of it. They are also vegan, paraben-free, non-toxic, cruelty-free, and made in the United States, which is awesome. And again, this is a brand that I have not heard too much about. I'm definitely going to need to search out some more reviews and see what people are saying. But if you've tried Mented Cosmetics and you have thoughts to share, or you've seen somebody review it or talk about it, definitely let me know in the comments. Finally, the last brand on my wish list that I wanted to talk about today is Ace Beauté. Again, I've tried Ace Beauté before, and I don't know that I ever processed the fact that they were a Black-owned brand. Now, I've never made a purchase from their website before, but I have received a few of their products in BoxyCharm boxes back when I was still subscribed to BoxyCharm. I don't have the Grandiose palette anymore that I had previously received, but I do still have these glimmer eyeshadows, and I absolutely adore these. I think they are so pretty and sparkly. They're kind of similar to like the ColourPop Super Shock shadows, but maybe like even a little bit creamier, and the sparkle that they give is just, oh my goodness, it's so pretty on the eyes. When I'm feeling lazy but like I really want a pretty eye look, I'll just throw some like bronzer in the crease and then put one of these on the lid, throw on some mascara, and call it a day, and it still ends up making such a stunning look. Now, when it comes to what's on my wish list, Ace Beauté has a little bit of a smaller variety of offerings available. They make eyeshadow palettes, they also do false lashes and brushes, and it looks like they also are doing luxe manicure false nails, which is cool if that is a thing you're into. So naturally, of course, I immediately go to the eyeshadow palettes, and they have some beautiful palettes. They definitely are not afraid of color, so if you are someone that likes colorful palettes, I would definitely recommend checking out Ace Beauté and seeing if one of these catches your eye. I did feel like the performance of the shadows in the Grandiose palette that I tried were really nice. It was just a color story that didn't feel super unique to my collection, so I wasn't using it and I passed it along to a friend. But there definitely are a few palettes with color stories that I think would be more loved in my collection. Like, my eye immediately goes to the Flare palette, which I know has been around for a while. And this one, again, it's colorful, but it's more on the earthy side of jewel tones. It's a little more muted. It's not like a bright neon type of rainbow. So to me, I just feel like this color story really pulls me in. It intrigues me. It makes me inspired, because you could go so many different ways with these shades and do so many different things. I feel like it definitely inspires a lot of creativity. It's almost giving me like Spice Market vibes with that particular color palette. Like, I don't know, I'm really into it. I also think the Vintage Dawn palette is really beautiful. I actually was really bummed when I didn't get that palette in my BoxyCharm, and that was one of the choice options that I could have picked, but I missed the email that went out for that choice because it happened, I think, back in January, like right after the new year, when your email inbox gets bombarded with 8,000 million ads. So I was really, really quite bummed to not get that palette when I had the opportunity to get it in my BoxyCharm and I got something else that I didn't want. But I think if I had to choose between that palette and the Flare palette, I think I would probably still choose the Flare palette just for the greater variety of shades and because it's just like a little bit more fun. It offers just a little more variety. All right, you guys, so I think that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you will consider giving it a thumbs up. I always really appreciate your support. And if you're new and you want to see more of my face in your subscription feed, I hope you will consider clicking that button before you go. And definitely be sure to sound off in the comments and let me know what some of your favorite Black-owned brands are. Again, I will link some other resources for you guys in the description box if you want to explore some other Black-owned brands that I didn't mention today. And I, of course, will keep you posted on the products that I purchased but haven't received yet. Like, you best believe I'm going to show you that Pat McGrath palette when it comes in. In the meantime, I'm sending you guys all of my love. Stay strong, stay safe, stay well. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.